Xbox has a big couple of months ahead with Game Pass drops, new updates for some of our favourite games, and a ton of new titles already confirmed for Series X and S and PC. So let's run through all the highlights. On August 26, we'll be turning our attentions to Cologne once again for this year's Gamescom. Naturally, loads of major developers are going to be there showing off their wares. Last year, we got our first look at LEGO Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight and Call of Duty Black Ops 7. And we got to really see what the ROG Xbox Ally could do. So who knows what this year has in store? What we do know is that there will be a special Xbox Fan Fest, which is the ideal place for attendees to connect with other like-minded Xbox-loving folks. And hey, we're gonna be there! Yay! Let us know in the comments if you're going to swing by and say hi. We'd love to meet you. Now, this one actually arrives on July 29th, but we're including it here because it was kind of a last-minute announcement. And that's exactly the sort of administrative headache that you'll have to deal with in Dispatch. This story-driven superhero game has you playing as the guy in the chair, managing a roster of reformed supervillains from the comfort of your office. Deploying the right hero to each emergency is key, and you'll have to make quick, tactical decisions that can have lasting consequences for your team and the city at large. Being former supervillains, these guys all have pretty big personalities too, so you'll probably spend as much time dealing with office politics as you will with criminal activities. Thanks to some hilarious writing and a stacked voice cast, Dispatch is a must-play for someone who enjoys irreverent superhero stuff like The Boys or Invincible. On to the new games, and kicking things off on August 4th, we've got Beast of Reincarnation, and there are just so many reasons to be excited about this one. There's the fact that it's an action RPG with combat which blends real-time and turn-based elements, just like a certain obscure Claire, or the fact that it takes place in a lush, dystopian fantasy world that's all rusty robots and Studio Ghibli vibes. Or how about the fact that it'll be arriving day one on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate? But far and away the biggest reason to be excited about Beast of Reincarnation is this fellow right here. So fluffy. His name is Ku. He's a loyal companion that will fight beside you throughout the game, and if anything happens to you, I am going to riot. One of our most anticipated 2026 titles is already locked in. It's Gears of War E-Day. This new entry in the iconic cover shooter series takes us back to where it all began, with Dom and Marcus taking on the Locust for the very first time. Now it seems like they get the knack for it pretty quickly. It's really exciting stuff, and you can get a taste of the action months before the game's October 6th release date thanks to the upcoming multiplayer beta. The beta will run from August 6th to August 10th, and it's open to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and PC subscribers, as well as anyone who's pre-ordered Gears of War E-Day. If you love the smell of napalm in the morning, you can either spend a lot of time searching for an extremely niche scented candle, or you can check out Hell Let Loose Vietnam when it arrives on August 13th. With this new entry, the tactical FPS series turns its attention to the Vietnam War, bringing its epic 50v50 matchups and intense strategic brand of combat with it. You'll be fighting through thick jungles and across mountain gorges, wielding a vast arsenal of era-specific weaponry and pawing about it in all sorts of different vehicles. And this isn't the sort of shooter where one player can just run and gun their way to glory, oh no. It's all about working together with your team and strategizing your way to victory together. So definitely one for the real team players to check out. If you love the Plague Tale games but reckon they could do with a bit more combat and less rodents, you're in for a treat with Resonance: A Plague Tale Legacy. Arriving day one on Xbox Game Pass on August 27th, Resonance has you playing as a scrappy young smuggler named Sophia, as she travels to the Minotaur's Island and uncovers some very interesting things about the origins of the Prima Macula curse, and also gets to absolutely wreck a bunch of guys with their sword. It takes place before the events of the previous two games, and then way before them once you discover the game's time-shifting mechanic. It lets you bounce between two different eras, watching the world change around you and using it to solve puzzles and get the upper hand on your enemies. It's a bit like The Medium, only with time periods rather than spirit realms, or that one mission in Dishonored 2. On August 27th, it's time to do your part for the Clone Wars with Star Wars Zero Company. This XCOM-style tactics game will put you in charge of a crew of misfits who have been tasked with protecting the galaxy from a sinister new threat. It's always the misfits that get called up for these jobs, isn't it? You'll get to assemble your own squad of story characters, custom mercenaries, and even your own personally designed droids, then lead them all into battle together. Permadeath is in play here though, so lead them carefully. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a lot of blue, hologram-looking folks glaring at you. Also in August, we've got Wild Blue Skies, Mortal Shell 2, and Volume 2 of the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection. Wild Blue Skies asks you to join Bowie and his furry flying friends on a mission to save the world. The old school arcade flight combat will bring a tear to many a veteran gamer's eye, but the modernized controls also make sure that it's super accessible, and it arrives on the 13th. Bringing its brutal combat stylings to Xbox once again, Mortal Shell 2 lets you loose on a compact but connected open world where slaying enemies lets you possess their bodies, absorbing their powers and abilities. Well, actually the fights are pretty tough, so maybe they're being let loose on you. On the 27th, the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2 brings together 2 acclaimed entries from the iconic stealth action series. Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots and Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, which was initially a handheld-only title, so it's a bit of an underplayed gem in the series. On August 11th, Grounded 2 gets an update so massive that if you stare into it, it might just stare back. Into the Abyss introduces 3 squelchy new biomes to explore: the pond, the bayou, and the mountain, as well as a new toll-biter buggy to help you cover all that new ground. You even get to explore underwater now too, though you'll want to do so very carefully. On August 14th, the Man of Honor expansion adds 2 new chapters to Mafia, the Old Country story, bringing the series' old adversary Ennio Salieri back into the fold. It also adds new jobs to take on, new weapons to wield, and a whole range of beautifully besuited men to square off against. Made by RPG veterans who worked on games like The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, the Blood of Dawnwalker is the game to get into if you're looking for a new fantasy world to immerse yourself in. Playing as a half-vamp named Cohen, although I think Dawnwalker is the preferred term these days, you'll be fighting to overthrow the evil bloodsucker that has enslaved your town and imperiled your family. On the one hand, you're a talented swordsman who can tap into all sorts of broody vampire powers by night and cast magical spells by day, so I quite like your chances. Then again, you have exactly 30 days to rescue your kin before they get a couple of unwanted neck piercings, so if you enjoyed the ticking clock mechanic in games like the Personas or Dead Rising, you'll be in your element here. Henry recently got the chance to spend some hands-on time with the Blood of Dawnwalker, so if you'd like a very in-depth look about why you should be so psyched for it, check this video out. If you've been dying to play Onimusha Way of the Sword ever since its action-packed demo landed, then good news! The game seems to be just as keen on the reunion, to the point that it's actually moved its release date forward a few weeks to September 4th, which means you'll soon be able to dust off your samurai sword and demon gauntlet and dive back into the fray, fighting your way through a dark fantasy version of historic Japan. Along the way, you'll encounter hideous monsters, vicious spirits, and some folks who are just plain not nice. With intense sword fights and fantastical samurai antics, this is definitely one for Sekiro fans to look out for. RuneScapers are being swept away to a whole new continent on September 15th with RuneScape Dragon Wilds. Ashenfall is a pretty cool place to be, all told. It's rich in natural resources, just waiting for you to harvest them with your spectral axe and get to crafting. It supports a rich animal ecosystem, lots of educational opportunities for aspiring magic users, and an eccentric range of locals to meet. Of course, there is a small matter of the dragons, and the ogres, and the black knights. Actually, it's pretty dangerous. Basically, RuneScape Dragon Wilds provides the same sort of medieval tinted survival crafting experience as you'd find in games like Valheim. Oh, and actually I have something to tell you about that too, but I'll get onto that in a minute. The Faden family are back on September 24th as Jesse's brother Dylan takes center stage for Control Resonant. And it turns out that he has a much blunter approach to conflict resolution. Wielding an evolving weapon called the Aberrant, you'll be battling your way through the streets of Manhattan, which has been overrun by paranormal entities. The combat this time around is really fast-paced, fluid, and all about the melee moves as you flip between different weapon forms and unleash deadly elemental powers. It's a real push-forward style of gameplay that has you mixing up parries and attacks in a way that Devil May Cry fans are gonna love. And if you manage to fight your way far enough, you might uncover the dark secrets behind the FBC and the horrors it protects humanity from. Polish up your pickaxe because we're heading back into the Minecraft dungeons on September 29th. The sequel lets you dig even deeper into the character customization with armor and talisman slots to go with your weapons and spells. It's still super accessible, not at all the sort of RPG where you're going to have to spend hours comparing the stats of two almost identical halberds, but it adds a nice bit of depth and flexibility. Minecraft Dungeons 2 also takes place in a big, beautiful, interconnected world, so exploring it is going to be even more fun this time around too. And if all else fails, you can just enjoy standing there in all your blocky goodness. But that's not all. September also brings us Halloween the Game, Harvest Moon Echoes of Terraria, Hot Wheels Infinite Rush, and the 1.0 release of Valheim. Halloween the Game is a Dead by Daylight style asymmetrical horror game starring none other than Michael Myers himself. No, not the Austin Powers guy. That would be a different kind of scary. The sandbox survival game Valheim gets its full release on the 9th. It was already a blast in early access mode, and now it'll be getting a bunch of new content, so you really can't go wrong. The new Harvest Moon arrives on the 24th and tells a charming farming adjacent story about two friends on a grand adventure. Most importantly, it lets you pick one of your farm animals to go adventuring with. Finally, Hot Wheels Infinite Rush gives you 4 toy-sized islands to race all over, each with its own Rushmaster for you to dethrone. We'll have all the news for you from Gamescom and beyond right here, so make sure you subscribe and ring that bell, and I'll see you next time.